Good evening, Dr. Kemper, everyone. I hope this video finds you all doing well. Today, we will be discussing or comparing the two books that we have read so far throughout class. One book, Managing at the Speed of Change, and the other is Who Moved My Cheese? Um, just a little overview. I thought both of these books were good books. I think they were full of knowledge, helpful information that I can use one day. I liked how Managing at the Speed of Change gave like real life examples, things that have happened to people, and things that I should be expecting that I wouldn't have been expecting if I wouldn't have read the book. Who Moved My Cheese? Overall, it was interesting. Never would have thought would be reading a book about two rats and two small people inside of a cage or inside of a maze chasing after cheese, but I did, and overall, it was a good book, and I thought it was full of helpful or interesting things. Managing at the speed of change. Early on, one of the things that hopped out to me was one of the key words was in managing speed of change, resilience. Resilience is your ability to absorb high levels of change while displaying minimal dysfunctional behaviors. So this is whenever your world's coming to a crash, you got so many things going on, something new's happening every minute, and it just feels like you're just at a loss and you don't know what to do. You got to be able to control yourself. You got to handle everything, absorb it all, take it in. Don't need to let it bother you. You got to remain true, and stay on path, and you'll persevere. Another big thing I learned throughout this book would be change is not a mystery. Change is always happening. It happens every day. There's always something new changing, something new happening in the world, country, business. It could be your personal life, whatever. Something is going to change no matter what. It's happened always, constantly, especially now more than ever with COVID and all the current world events happening. Instead of viewing change as a mystery, we should view change as an understandable and a manageable process, because it is understandable even though you're not expecting it, which you should expect it, but most people aren't. It's understandable and it can be managed. It's all about basically how you handle it, how you hold it, how you absorb it. If you let it just tear you apart, one thing after the next, if you just let it just hurt you, then you don't hold it well, then you may not be able to control the change that well, but it's not the right thing. It is a manageable process. You can or you cannot control change, but you can control how you handle it. You got to manage it properly and control it and keep going. Throughout reading the book, I also learned that one of the best places to learn resilient skills is in an organizational setting. This is business, hands-on, whether it's an internship, whatever. Being in the organizational setting is the best place to learn it. One key factor in being in the organization is having good leadership throughout the organization. Your workers are only as good as you are if you're the boss. So if you're leading in a good way and helping through everything, your workers are going to respect you and appreciate you, and they're going to work harder, and over time they're going to be more efficient and help you get the job done or control the change. An interesting thing is we're most efficient when we move at speed that allows us to assimilate change. What this means is we should not work too fast. We shouldn't be like, okay, let's get this over with, whatever. It's change. I don't like it. Let's get over with. We can't be like that. You can't be, but on the other hand, you cannot be too slow either. You can't just be like, okay, well, maybe someone else can help or they can control the change and we can kind of see how they did it. That's not the correct way either. You gotta stay persistent. You gotta stay consistent, steady path, no matter what. Don't let it stop you. Don't speed up. Don't rush it. Remain level-headed. It's a simple way to put it. You can't be too high, too emotional. You can't be too like worry free. You can't not care about it. You got to worry about it, know it's going to happen, and manage how you control it. Overall, managing at the speed of change like helped me view the real world situations and stuff. It was things I never would have thought about happening, and it was very interesting. Going on to the next book, Who Moved My Cheese? One of the main things that I read, or I read it, but understood from the reading was to stop thinking about your cheese and start chasing your cheese. What this means is don't think about the change that's coming, make the change happen. Like if you want something to happen, you got to make it happen. One example was Sniff and Scurry. They were always looking for their cheese. They didn't sit around like, hey, is something gonna change today, or do I have to make it change? They went and made the change happen. They were always looking, chasing around, looking through different areas of the maze, trying to find their cheese, and it paid off eventually. On the flip side of that, you have him and Hall, the two humans in the maze, and they were way overthinking of the situation. They didn't put actions into place, and they just overthought of any possibility of where the cheese could be, how could they get it the fastest, what would be the best route, what could go wrong. They just overthought the process instead of making the change happen. They didn't make the change happen very well. Good things never last forever. Um, Sniff and Scurry, as my example here, they made things happen. They went out, they were running down different trails, passed through the maze, trying to find their cheese, and eventually they found their cheese. Throughout their journey with the cheese, they noticed, they paid attention, they sat back and they paid attention that every day more and more cheese started to be gone from their stack. So eventually, when it got to an end or to a very small amount, they were like, this is basically over with. Let's go find more. So they continued venturing off or making change happen, and eventually came upon another stack of cheese, and they were rewarded for making it happen. Him and Hall, on the other hand, once they did find their cheese in the maze, they didn't pay attention. They were happy. They thought they were rewarded. They deserved this. This was meant for them. It was all their cheese. So they ate the cheese. They kept coming back, eating the cheese every day. They didn't pay attention to the stack of cheese getting smaller and smaller. They just sat there eating it, and they were content with how they were. They didn't expect any change. They didn't want anything to change. They were content. This came back to bite them in the butt. They Once they eventually ate all the cheese, there was none left. They began being hungry again, and then they kept doing what they did in the first place, which was overthinking, wishing things would change, happen the way they wanted it, like if they would get more cheese, but it never happened. But him, on the other hand, got tired of sitting around. He didn't let Hall hold him down any longer. He made change happen. He went out through the maze, down the aisles, rows, never worried about what could go wrong, never thought about it. He had a vision, he wanted to find the cheese, so he made the change happen. There's always change coming. You just got to start looking. You can't just sit around, you can't wait, you can't be lazy. No matter what, it's coming. You know it is because it's every day. Like I said, it's always something new changing every day. You just got to start looking. You got to make it happen. Most people don't make it happen because they're scared of it. They don't want to face their fears. But one thing that I've learned, especially throughout this class, is to learn you got to be uncomfortable. You got to face your fears. You got to step outside of your comfort zone to make things happen, and to that's how you get growth. To get out of your comfort zone and make stuff happen. Him, like I said, he persevered. He got tired of sitting around. He didn't want to wait for his cheese any longer. He started looking throughout the maze, and he eventually found Sniff and Scurry. So, like I said, he made things happen. He didn't sit around. He was tired of waiting, and that's an interesting thing that I can apply to my career one day. I mean, once I get into the role of manager, I have my organization, my business, whatever I'm doing. I mean, I can't be worried about something happening because I know something's going to happen, whether it's good or bad. Something's going to change somehow eventually. I just got to expect it and know it's going to happen. I got to persevere and get through it on a steady pace. Thank you, Dr. Kemper, for your time.